The battleship Vittorio Veneto, part of the Littorio-class, served in the Italian Regia Marina during World War II. The construction of this mighty ship began in October 1934, with its launch taking place in July 1937. By August 1940, Vittorio Veneto was ready for action. Named after Italy's World War I victory at Vittorio Veneto, this battleship had three sisters, Littorio, Roma, and Impero. However, only Littorio and Roma were completed during the conflict. The ship was equipped with a formidable main battery of 9 15-inch guns housed in 3 triple turrets, capable of reaching speeds up to 35 miles per hour. During the war, Vittorio Veneto was actively engaged in several significant operations. She avoided damage in the British raid on Taranto in November 1940. That same month, she saw action in the Battle of Cape Spartivento. In March 1941, during the Battle of Cape Matapan, she sustained damage from a torpedo bomber. Later that year, in December, she was torpedoed by the British submarine HMS Urge. Throughout 1941 and early 1942, Vittorio Veneto attempted to disrupt British convoys heading to Malta. However, severe fuel shortages within the Italian fleet significantly limited these efforts. In September 1943, Italy's withdrawal from the war led to Vittorio Veneto being surrendered to the Allies. She spent the next 3 years under British control in Egypt. After the war ended, the battleship was given to Britain as a war prize and was eventually dismantled for scrap. Description: The Vittorio Veneto was a massive ship, measuring 780 feet long with a beam of 107 feet and a draft of 31 feet. She was quite heavy too, displacing 40,724 long tons normally and 45,236 long tons when fully loaded, breaking the limits set by the Washington Naval Treaty. Her power came from 4 Belizzo-geared steam turbines, producing 128,000 horsepower. 8 oil-fired Yarrow boilers fed steam to these turbines, allowing the ship to reach speeds of up to 35 miles per hour and travel a range of 3,920 miles at a cruising speed of 23 miles per hour. The ship housed a crew ranging from 1,830 to 1,950 sailors throughout her service. Her main firepower included 9 15-inch, 50 caliber guns arranged in 3 triple turrets, with 2 positioned forward and 1 aft. For secondary armament, she had 12 6-inch guns in 4 triple turrets placed around the superstructure, complemented by 4 older 4.7-inch guns primarily for firing star shells. Her anti-aircraft defense was robust, featuring 12 3.5-inch guns, 21.5-inch guns, and 16 0.79-inch guns, all in various configurations. In July 1943, she was equipped with the EC-3 Tergfo radar, which could detect surface targets up to 19 miles away and aircraft up to 50 miles away. The Vittorio Veneto was well protected with a main armor belt that was 11 inches thick, reinforced with an additional 2.8-inch steel layer. Her main deck armor was 6.4 inches thick in the most vital areas, tapering down to 1.8 inches elsewhere. The main battery turrets were armored with 14 inches of steel, and the supporting barbets also had 14-inch armor. The secondary turrets had 11-inch faces, and the conning tower was protected by 10-inch thick sides. For reconnaissance, the ship was fitted with a catapult on the stern, carrying 3 Imam Ro.43 float planes or Reggiane Re.2000 fighters. Service history. Ordered in 1934 and named after the Battle of Vittorio Veneto, a significant Italian victory in World War I, the battleship Vittorio Veneto began its journey in Trieste. Her keel was laid on October 28, 1934, the same day as her sister ship Littorio. Launched on July 25, 1937, her construction saw significant progress by October 1939. However, design changes and shortages of heavy armor delayed the fitting out process. By October 4, she was moved to Venice for cleaning, as it had the only dry dock in Italy large enough for the Littorio-class ships. By October 17, cleaning was done, and stability tests were conducted. She returned to Trieste on October 19, and trials started on October 23. These trials, including tests on her weaponry, continued until March 1940. Further fitting out work was completed, and she was officially delivered on April 28, though not fully ready. On May 1, escorted by the destroyers Leone Pancaldo and Emanuele Pessigno, she sailed to La Spezia for final preparations. Loading her main and secondary guns with shells began on May 6 and finished by May 20. That same day, she moved to Taranto, escorted by the destroyers Ascari and Carabiniere, joining the 9th Division of the Italian fleet. Italy entered the war against Britain and France the following month, but it wasn't until August 2 that Vittorio Veneto and Littorio were officially operational. During World War II. In late August 1940, Vittorio Veneto, along with Littorio and a substantial Italian fleet, attempted to intercept British naval forces involved in Operation Hats and Convoy MB.3. Despite mobilizing 5 battleships, 10 cruisers, and 34 destroyers, the Italians failed to make contact due to inadequate aerial reconnaissance. The British detected the fleet and managed to evade them. On September 6, another sortie aimed at British ships reported near Gibraltar also ended without engagement as the British fleet moved into the Atlantic. Later, from September 29 to October 1, Vittorio Veneto joined 4 other battleships, 11 cruisers, and 23 destroyers in an effort to intercept a convoy carrying troops to Malta. Despite the Italian Royal Air Force locating the convoy, the British successfully avoided confrontation. A significant event occurred on the night of November 10 to 11, when the British Mediterranean Fleet launched a surprise air raid on the Taranto harbor. 21 Swordfish torpedo bombers from the HMS Illustrious attacked in 2 waves. The Italian base, defended by anti-aircraft guns and barrage balloons but lacking radar, was caught off guard. The first wave struck at 8:35 p.m., followed by a second an hour later. Although Vittorio Veneto emerged unscathed, 3 other battleships suffered hits, with 2 severely damaged. Following the raid, Vittorio Veneto led the fleet to Naples and assumed the role of fleet flagship under Admiral Inigo Campioni. Battle of Cape Spartivento. On November 17, Vittorio Veneto and Giulio Cesare, the only operational Italian battleships at the time, attempted to intercept the British convoy Operation White heading to Malta, but they made no contact. Then, on November 26, they joined another mission to attack a British convoy during Operation Collar, leading to the Battle of Cape Spartivento, known as the Battle of Cape Teulada in Italy. Vittorio Veneto, Giulio Cesare, 6 cruisers, and 14 destroyers aimed to intercept the convoy. The British escort included the aircraft carrier Ark Royal, the battleship Ramillies, and the battlecruiser Renown. Although Italian aerial reconnaissance spotted the British escorts, they exaggerated the threat. Admiral Campioni, under orders not to risk his battleships against a potentially stronger force, disengaged shortly after the battle began. Vittorio Veneto did manage to fire 19 rounds in 7 salvos at extreme range, slightly damaging the British light cruiser Manchester, which then retreated. Following this, British air attacks on Naples, which damaged the cruiser Pola, prompted the Italian High Command to move Vittorio Veneto and other major warships to Sardinia on December 14. However, they returned to Naples 6 days later, realizing that their presence in Sardinia would allow British convoys from Alexandria to reach Malta more easily. On the night of January 8 to 9, 1941, the British launched an air raid on the Italian fleet in Naples with Vickers Wellington bombers. Although the attack slightly damaged Giulio Cesare, Vittorio Veneto remained unscathed. Both battleships moved to La Spezia the following day, with Vittorio Veneto covering Giulio Cesare. This left Vittorio Veneto as the only operational battleship in the fleet at that time. By early February, Giulio Cesare was back in service, joined by Andrea Doria. Together with 8 destroyers, they attempted to intercept Force H, which was heading to bombard Genoa on February 8. However, the 2 forces did not encounter each other, and the Italian fleet returned to La Spezia without engaging the enemy. Battle of Cape Matapan. In late March 1941, Vittorio Veneto returned to Naples and soon led an operation to attack British shipping off Greece. She was joined by 8 cruisers and 9 destroyers, supported by the Regia Aeronautica and the German 10th Air Corps. This operation culminated in the Battle of Cape Matapan. The Italian 3rd Division, commanded by Vice Admiral Luigi Sansonetti and including 2 Trento-class heavy cruisers and Bolzano, encountered the British 15th Cruiser Squadron. Admiral Iachino tried to position Vittorio Veneto to the east of the British cruisers while they were engaged with Sansonetti's ships. However, HMS Orion spotted Vittorio Veneto before the trap could be sprung. Vittorio Veneto opened fire, quickly finding the range, but only managed to inflict splinter damage on Orion, which retreated south toward the main British fleet. Misfires in her forward turret temporarily halted her firing, but the Italian gunners soon resumed, though poor visibility and smokescreens hindered their accuracy. During this phase, Vittorio Veneto fired 92 rounds but did not score any significant hits. As the battle continued, torpedo bombers from HMS Formidable arrived, forcing Vittorio Veneto to take evasive action. While she avoided the torpedoes, the presence of the British fleet convinced Iachino to end the operation and return to port. Throughout the afternoon, British forces launched several air attacks, including Blenheim bombers from Greece and Crete. Later, another strike from Formidable succeeded, and at 3:10 p.m., a Swordfish torpedo hit Vittorio Veneto on her port side, aft. The impact sheared off the port side propeller, damaged the shaft, jammed the port rudder, and disabled the aft port pumps, causing severe flooding and a 4.5-degree list to port. She was immobilized for about 10 minutes, during which a Blenheim bomber dropped a bomb near her stern, causing minor additional damage. Despite difficulties in controlling the flooding using only emergency hand pumps, the crew managed to restart the starboard shafts and use backup hand steering gear. Vittorio Veneto gradually increased speed to 23 miles per hour using only her starboard shafts. As the Italian fleet withdrew, Formidable launched another airstrike, this time hitting the cruiser Pola, leaving her immobile. Vittorio Veneto returned to port while 2 cruisers and several destroyers were detached to protect Pola. However, all 3 cruisers and 2 destroyers were sunk in a close-range night action with the British battleships Valiant, Warspite, and Barham. Vittorio Veneto reached Taranto on March 29, where she underwent repairs that lasted until July. She did not become fully operational again until August. Later operations. In late August 1941, Vittorio Veneto and Littorio embarked on a mission to intercept British forces. The British intended to mine Livorno and launch an air raid on northern Sardinia. However, Italian agents in Spain alerted the Regia Marina about the British operation departing from Gibraltar. Unfortunately, the Italian fleet was positioned too far south, and their aerial reconnaissance failed to locate the British ships. A month later, on September 27, Vittorio Veneto led an attack on the Allied convoy during Operation Halberd, alongside Littorio, 5 cruisers, and 14 destroyers. The British hoped to draw out the Italian fleet and engage it with a powerful convoy escort that included the battleships Rodney, Nelson, and Prince of Wales. Despite these efforts, neither side made contact, though Italian torpedo bombers did manage to hit Nelson. By 2 p.m., Admiral Iachino cancelled the operation and ordered the fleet to return to port. On December 13, Vittorio Veneto participated in another operation to escort a convoy to North Africa. This mission was abandoned after a British radio deception convinced the Italians that the British fleet was nearby. On the return journey, the British submarine HMS Urge torpedoed Vittorio Veneto in the Straits of Messina. One of 3 torpedoes struck her port side, creating a 43-foot hole and flooding the ship with over 2,000 long tons of water. The Pugliese torpedo defense system contained the explosion, but the ship listed 3.5 degrees to port and was down by 7 feet at the stern. After some counter-flooding, she was able to steam back to port under her own power and underwent repairs in Taranto until early 1942. On June 14, Vittorio Veneto joined the interception of the Operation Vigorous convoy from Alexandria to Malta. Accompanied by Littorio, 4 cruisers, and 12 destroyers, the Italian fleet set out to attack the convoy. British forces quickly located the Italian fleet and launched several airstrikes early on June 15, using Wellington and Bristol Beaufort bombers. While these attacks missed the battleships, they disabled the cruiser Trento, which was later sunk by a British submarine. Later that morning, another air attack by B-24 Liberators from the Asaf resulted in 1 hit on Littorio and several near misses around both Littorio and Vittorio Veneto, but neither ship sustained serious damage. A subsequent British strike with Beauforts was met by Italian and German fighters, who shot down 2 Beauforts and damaged 5 others. By the afternoon, Iachino realized they wouldn't reach the convoy before nightfall and called off the operation. The British, fearing the Italian battleships, ordered the convoy back to Alexandria, resulting in the failure of Operation Vigorous. On the return voyage, another British air attack torpedoed Littorio. Fate. In response to the Allied invasion of North Africa, Vittorio Veneto was moved from Taranto to Naples on November 12. During the journey, she survived an attack by the British submarine HMS Umbra. An American air raid on December 4 targeted the harbor, prompting the Italians to move the fleet to La Spezia. The fleet stayed there for the remainder of Italy's involvement in the war. On June 5, 1943, Vittorio Veneto was hit by 2 large bombs during an American air raid on La Spezia, though only 1 bomb detonated, causing significant structural damage. She was then transferred to Genoa for repairs, as the dockyard in La Spezia was also damaged. Italy signed an armistice with the Allies on September 3, 1943, ending its active participation in World War II. 6 days later, Vittorio Veneto, along with the rest of the Italian fleet, sailed to Malta for internment. En route, the German Luftwaffe attacked the fleet with Dornier Do-217s using Fritz X radio-controlled bombs. Vittorio Veneto remained undamaged, but Littorio, now renamed Italia, was hit, and her sister ship Roma was sunk. Vittorio Veneto stayed in Malta until September 14, then moved to Alexandria, Egypt, and later to the Great Bitter Lake in the Suez Canal on October 17. She remained there until October 6, 1946, when she was allowed to return to Italy. She first went to Augusta, Sicily, then to La Spezia on October 14. Under the Treaty of Peace with Italy signed on February 10, 1947, Vittorio Veneto was allocated to Britain as a war prize. She was decommissioned on January 3, 1948, removed from the Naval Register on February 1, and subsequently broken up for scrap. Throughout the war, Vittorio Veneto was the most active Italian battleship, participating in 11 offensive operations. 12 of her 90mm anti-aircraft guns were later reused by the Yugoslav People's Army for the Zrje Island Coastal Artillery Battery. This battery surrendered without resistance to the Croatian National Guard on September 14, 1991, during the Croatian War of Independence. It played a crucial role in the Battle of Šibenik from September 16 to 22, helping to defend the city against the Yugoslav People's Army and trapping 34 patrol boats and minesweepers of the Yugoslav Navy, which were eventually seized by Croatian forces. The story of Vittorio Veneto is a testament to the resilience and challenges faced by naval forces during World War II. From fierce battles and strategic maneuvers to surviving intense air raids and torpedo attacks, Vittorio Veneto's journey highlights the complexities of naval warfare. Her legacy, marked by her active service and eventual fate, offers a compelling glimpse into the life of one of Italy's most notable battleships. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey. Stay tuned for more captivating stories from the past.